What's up guys, Brett Maverick here. I think I could do this all in one clip so I could just upload it straight. But in the how to run the passive closed loop video, someone had brought up that I didn't remove the mystery oil, and that wasn't the case. That's a different process. I was already using distilled tang to begin with, so it's not like it magically jumps back into the can after every single run. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's not something that comes back. They could have been talking about the half can of butane that I added to the tin can mix, but if that was the case, then shit. I mean, man, that's a tiny amount. But in this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it. One thing I wanted to talk about was like different brands of butane. A lot of people, I don't know if it's a racist thing or what, but they prefer that white people make their butane because they think that if it's from Korea, it's dirty or some shit. But if you go on Skunk Farm research, you can actually see the results of how much pentane was in each can. The parts per million of the actual solution, like for instance, for every million parts butane, there was that many parts shit. And when I say butane, I'm talking butane, propane, isobutane, all the shit in this can. So yeah, so there was that much of it was contaminant, and the highest ones that were on there besides Ronson were fucking Newport and Colibri. Having said that, I still love Newport. The higher amount of, there's a lot more propane in Newport versus like Vector and Power. They're more just intane and a little bit of isotane and a little bit of propane, but mostly intane. And this also goes for intane. A lot of people think that there's no mystery oil in intane. I don't know if they listen to somebody that lied or just doesn't know, or they just assume, but the owner at Emotech Labs actually has a little video on his Facebook and his Instagram showing how much mystery oil was in intane. And for the amount of intane he had, it was 12 pounds. That's a gang of mystery oil. I would guarantee there's not that much in 24 cans of butane. So, and that's a little bit more than 12 pounds. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. As you see, I've got the recovery tank down here. Before you do this, you want to make sure the recovery tank is completely clean and empty, and then you want to pull a vacuum on it. And of course, I can't do that. There's already butane in it, but I can assure you before I filled it the first time, it was clean. And I don't fill it directly. I fill it to a different tank and then boil the butane to that tank, and that's how you leave the mystery oil behind. It's a simple distillation. It's nothing special. It's not fractional distillation. It's not magic. It's simple distillation. As you see, there's a sight glass and a valve on top of the bottom tank. It's the bottom of the system, but you just say bottom tank because it's just another tank. What you could do instead of having all that on there is have this. It's the top of the system, but you can have it on top of the bottom tank, just down there at the bottom 4-inch clamp right there. But I've got it like this just for the sake of the video. But so all you do, it's quite simple. The mystery oil is not as volatile as the light hydrocarbons that you're using. And if you're wondering what is mystery oil, well, if you go on Skunk Farm research like I talked about, they tested it and shows all the components in it. And a lot of it is really heavy hydrocarbons like isopentane and neopentane, but there's some other shit in there that I can't even fucking pronounce. All of it is really heavy shit. It's shit that won't purge out of your oil unless you're at a really high temperature. So since it's so heavy, we use that to our advantage, and we distill at a temperature lower than its boiling point. So anything you don't want in the oil, you find its boiling temperature, or you don't want in your butane, sorry, or your oil, whatever. If it's in your butane, it'll end up in your oil. Anything that you don't want in it, you're going to distill at a temperature lower than that stuff's boiling point. Therefore, it stays behind, and you only boil back what's good. So that's how we're going to do this. Pentane's boiling point is around 96 or 98 degrees Fahrenheit. I can't remember exactly. We are under at least 20 or 30 psi, so that boiling point does go up, but we're not going to estimate and be higher than that. We're going to stay around 90 degrees. So the first thing you do, like I said, is you make sure that recovery tank is clean and at a vacuum, and then you go to your other tank, which is in ice, that's where you're going to be boiling from. You throw your little adapter that you use to add butane to it on right here. Still pressure in there from the last can. And you blast the can in there. If it gets up above like 40 psi, which it shouldn't, especially with the Sweet Leaf, but there's some other systems that for some reason it's really hard to get all the cans in there. You can dip the can in water that's like 90 or 100 degrees. It's kind of sketchy. I wouldn't recommend. I mean, it's not something that you should have to do, but if for some reason the pressure is equal to the can, which is around 40 or 50 psi, you have to heat it up to raise more pressure in the can to get it in your system. Again, that's not something that should have to happen. I heard that like the Temicium gets up way above 50 psi. I don't know why. Maybe it's the shape of the system or something. I have no clue. But yeah. So can's about halfway in there. And then each time you top your system off, you would want to do this. You would want to spray it into this bottom tank and then boil it to the top tank. I'll admit myself, I don't really care. I mean, the amount that I'm adding per time isn't even more than a can's worth. It's like a half can to a can. So to have a half can to a can is worth of mystery oil in 50 to 100 or even more, like the last run that I did was 120 grams of oil. I'm not going to trip about a half can's worth of mystery oil in there, especially when it's food grade. But if you do, I mean, you can take the precautions like I'm talking about. So there, you would do that to as many cans go in your system. And then after that, simple, you go from that to the water that we talked about that was no more than 95 degrees. Remember, butane boils at around 30 degrees, so as long as you're hotter than that, your butane is going to boil. There, and once you've boiled all your butane back into the other tank, it's just the same process as recovering after a run. So you're boiling all your butane back into that tank. After that, when you open up your bottom tank where your oil would be, you have, if you scraped it all up, you might have a dab or two's worth of mystery oil. There's really not a lot there. You have to do about 48 cans, which is, I think, half a case. Yeah, I think it's about half of a master case. Yeah, half a 96. So you do 48 cans, and then you get not even a half gram of mystery oil. So it's really not that concentrated in there. If you run 48 cans, we're talking a pound of oil. So yeah. But yeah, that's how you distill your light hydrocarbons out of your mystery oil, or leaving the mystery oil behind. And then of course you would clean that tank before you do any run. And the butane that boils up this line and recondenses into a vapor has nothing in it. Now you might be asking, what if there's any kind of mystery oil that does boil up the lines and get recondensed? Well, if it's that volatile, then it's going to purge from your oil and you're not going to have to worry about it. Anything that gets recovered up these lines is going to get recovered up these lines after you do a run and isn't going to be in your oil anyways. And anything that is in your oil that would recover up these lines can easily be purged out. It's just the really, really heavy stuff that we're worried about. So again, I hope this video helps anybody. I'm sure I'll get some questions. How can you get it out open? You can't. I mean, if there's a way, I mean, I'm sure it's like some filtering or some crazy stupid shit. I don't know. It's not as efficient or as easy as doing this. So yeah, but if you've got any closed loop system, put the butane in the bottom tank, boil it to your recovery tank. voila. That's how you get your shit out. That's how Skunk Farm says to get it out. Well, research grade solvent or not, it doesn't matter. You should still always be doing this. So, or figure out I'd show you guys this. It's nothing spectacular, nothing hard. I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know it. So, peace.